Blaentrothy lies in the foothills of the Black Mountains in Monmouthshire. The fields form one of the largest areas of pristine meadow in the county. They have never been sprayed or ploughed in living memory or reseeded, and no nitrate fertilisers have been applied. They have been grazed regularly and cut for hay. This is a man-made meadow environment that has been preserved since man first cut down the forest, perhaps several thousand years ago. In 1992, the fields were designated as a Site of Special Scientific Interest, commonly referred to as a SSSI. Knapweed and fine grasses are the main plants found in the meadows. Rare plants that grow there include Dyer's greenweed, betony, fairy flax, burnet saxifrage and pepper saxifrage. However, there is no mention of orchids in the SSSI citation. When the MacDonalds moved to Blaentrothy in 2002, the fields were grazed all year by sheep. Now sheep eat everything, including flowers, right down to the soil level. The effect is a bit like mowing with the blades set low. In 2006, the farmer changed from sheep all year to grazing with cows from August, followed by sheep in winter. The result of this grazing change was quite surprising. Within a couple of years, orchids started to appear below the spring line in the two westmost fields. These are Heath-spotted orchids, and we're not talking about single orchids, but great patches of flowers that gradually spread out, each with hundreds of individuals. When John and I first visited the meadows in 2012, there were orchid patches halfway across the middle field, but none to the west. 2 years later, in 2014, small patches had appeared below the spring line in the rest of the field, and the flower density had increased. By 2017, these new patches had spread, again with hundreds of individual flower spikes. This is a new patch at the south end of the middle field. In 2014, the number of orchids in the two fields was estimated at 393,000. This figure must have doubled since then. Orchids produce lots of seeds which are distributed by wind. Orchid seed is very fine, and it takes around 5 years from germination for the flower spikes to appear. Some plants multiply through subdivision. And of course it's not just orchids that have multiplied. There's been a huge increase in other species such as birdsfoot trefoil, hawkweed and red clover. In June, beautiful patches of pink orchids stand out against a carpet of yellow and deep pink. Insects love the flowers and the meadows hum with the sound of bumblebees, while holly blue and common blue butterflies dart about the flowers. The multitude of insects and spiders support a variety of birds and small mammals. As the season progresses, more plants come into flower and more insects enjoy the wonderful environment. The return and spread of orchids at Blaentrothy has been spectacular, but this is a man-made environment. To keep the flowers coming, the fields must be grazed and cut for hay. By the end of July, the meadows are in peak condition for hay cutting. At Blaentrothy, the fields are cut in rotation every 3rd year. Hay cutting is important as it removes nutrient levels from the fields. This aids floral diversity. Cattle are brought in to all fields at the end of July. Grazing or cutting is essential as it prevents dead stems from building up to form a layer of thatch. If left, the meadows would eventually revert to woodland. Cattle stay for about 3 to 4 months, depending on the weather and the amount of grass. They eat long grass and reduce the length substantially. Cattle are seen as the best graziers as they lick and pull the grass and herbs rather than nipping or cutting. They like ripe seeds. These are spread about in their dung. Hooves dig into the soil which leaves bare patches. Seeds that fall there are pushed into the ground, which helps germination. Flowers can continue to grow while the cattle graze. This is good for birds and for insect species like the common blue butterfly that fly late in summer. Finally, sheep are brought in. They stay through the winter where their close grazing won't damage the amount of flowering plants. They'll leave before lambing in early March. Sheep take the grass down to a level that's perfect for wildflowers in the spring. Could the same thing happen elsewhere? The answer must be yes. Wildflower seeds must have remained dormant in the ground while sheep grazed all year, and nibbled plants and roots also survived. Once the grazing changed, they had the opportunity to grow and flower again.